Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today we're going to be talking about WHLM, Wilhelmina. Now for this one here, I'm going to be talking relating towards a bit of due diligence, but mainly towards technical analysis and the price action movement, and then institutional buyers, short interest, short volume, and what I think about this one. So without further ado, let's jump right into this one. So WHLM. Now in terms of the investor sides of page, you're not getting a lot of information here in terms of presentations and everything in between that you usually get. But from what we're able to grasp out of this one is that this company here specializes in modeling and anything that is relating towards modeling in that sense. They do have About Us page and affiliates became a model, or become a model, my bad, their legacy, affiliates, and terms and condition, as well as social media platforms. Now in terms of them being in the news, they do highlight some of their own models or some of their own work. And in terms of their applications and locations, it seems to be temporarily suspended, but they do still have a good portfolio in that sense. Now let's take a dive a little bit into what's actually fueling the movement relating towards this one. So the main thing that is happening here is there's two investors that went in on the 3rd and on the 2nd of August. So on the 3rd, which is today, you got Lowest Investments AG adding around 9.2% of the entire company. And then you got Retail E-commerce Ventures adding around 18.4%. Now Bartol Ralph seems to be adding some positions, but they're not clear on how much the percentage is, so that's not been recorded out. But you get to see that institution is very active, and you get to see there's more additions in institutions than dispositions or people selling their stocks in terms of the institution level. You get to see Royal Bank of Canada liquidated their entire position on the 20th. Inspire Wealth Management liquidated their position on the 26th of August. In terms of insiders, we're starting to see something that is very interesting. So on the file date of 2nd of August, you get to see that Escher Dater has disposed around 237,500 shares, with the remaining shares of around 475,000. So that's around 1/3 of their entire position, with a total price of around $2.4 million. So this amount of shares is at around $10 per share. And you get to see there's not only dispositions or selling from insiders, and we're able to see here that these shares were actually bought by Retail Commerce Ventures that we reported a second ago. But you get to see the Bartol Ralph, we actually have some numbers relating towards this one. So the last one was on the 15th of March. They did sell around 582,000 shares, so around 2/3 of their shares. But you get to see there's been buyings, there's been selling, there's been buyings, there's been selling. So we're not going to really put much into that. But moving on from there, you get to see on the short volume. So the short volume currently is almost trading around 47% on the 2nd of August, as basically the number of short volumes out of the total volume. So that doesn't give you the short interest, but it gives you an idea of the short interest. The short float itself is somewhere around 0.09, but I do anticipate that this has increased significantly from where we're looking at. And before moving on, if you'd like to see more contents like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button on the bottom right corner and leave notification buttons on. Also, don't forget to drop a like to this video if you've enjoyed my content so far, and if you would like to join our Discord, the server link is in the description below and it's totally free, and we're not trying to upsell you on anything or rubbish down there. On the other SEC filings, we don't get much information other than the usual votings, etc. Nothing significant that we need to report on today. But in terms of the valuations, the price over sales here is around 0.59, and if you were to compare it to the SP 500 price over sales, that's 317. You get to see that it's almost 6 times cheaper than the SP 500 average. The price over books is around 120. The price over book of the SP 500 is sitting at 470, around 4 times more than the company itself. So in theory, if this was to maintain the same average as an index fund or something like the SP 500, it would go 4 times higher the level than what it is right now. So that's something to think about. Although it shows that the insider transactions are liquidating at -70%, but we still have two main transactions relating to the institutional buyers, and I think that's what's fueling this jump up. Now we need to talk a little bit about technical analysis to anticipate where this one is going. Now from a technical analysis perspective, what you're getting to see here is that on the 1 month, 1 day perspective, things are starting to look a bit more bullish. But we need to look into trends, volumes, and everything in between. So we're really going to dive into that in a second. So on the moving average part, yes, they are bullish since they're above the 50 SMA and 200 SMA line. But you get to see that the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA are almost touching, which might be a bearish indicator that reversals are very easy in this case. 30 EMA is above the 10 SMA, which still makes it bearish, but it's a continuation of volume, and length of volume is what matters here. ADX is at 48.21, that's the average directional index, and in relation towards this one above 50, you need to worry about selling because it is very easy for it to drop above 50. Now the willing percent R, which is very similar to the relative strength index, shows that it is almost the same level as overbought it is than when it was at 938. So it is currently sitting closer to neutral than overbought or oversold, so it still has another leg up technically. MACD shows a very nice positive reversal on here, but it did show that as well on the 938 as you get to see, but it did record a little bit of a higher morning and then dropped significantly during the day and ended somewhere around the 607. So we're going to take a look into that, but momentums is again very positive. Now in terms of stochastic fast and stochastic slow, both are showing there is a potential for this one to continue on with this push. And in terms of the stochastic fast and stochastic slow, it did show there's another push, but on the Bollinger Bands, you're starting to see where the limits are. So you're seeing that this one is expected to trade between 610 on the top and 380 in the bottom. Take a look into the volume. The volume here is one of the highest it's ever been recorded on. And the question here is whether the next day volume would remain the same or not. We can take a look into an hourly perspective on the volume and see whether the volumes are still pushing. But if the volumes are decreasing, usually that's a warning sign. So let's quickly go on through a 1 hour perspective of volume. And you get to see that the volume is significantly dropping. What does that mean? People are losing interest and you can expect more of a red day or at least a drop tomorrow. It could open up higher because after hours you don't need much of volume to pump this one. But you need to be very careful of drops afterwards because you get to see that this massive candle that was very similar to what you've seen today, just the difference is that this is coming in a red candle, is followed by a jump up in price and then dropping down significantly for the next few days. So you got to be very careful onto that. In terms of the Fibonacci retracements, and the reason why I'm using this one is because high frequency traders use it. The current support level is at 513, resistances are 686, 827, 967, and then 1166, followed by 1421. Now on a price line action, you're able to see that there is a very strong support sitting at the 588 level. Below there, another strong one at 548, and then we dive down to the 501, followed by the 467, to the 432, to the 396, to the 361, and right after that, you're able to see another one closer to the 323, and then down to around the 269. In terms of resistances, we're able to see that there is a current strong resistance following this one around the 615 that it's struggling with. So when the price point is above the 615, it becomes a support. Below there, it's a resistance. So currently it's going up and down on there. So it's really testing this one. The next resistance is at 656. That's a very critical one, followed by that 730, 804, 823, 890, 937, and then you're starting to see 1081, and then following by that, you can anticipate $1 each up to 1421. And then comes to the question to Ed, what do you think about this one? So the main reason why this one is moving to start with is really going after that news relating towards the investment. So I do anticipate for this to cool off. It might actually open up a little bit higher tomorrow on the next day, but I do think it might actually go back and at least retest that 550s level. So that's a very dangerous thing. So be very careful of higher jumps, but it does have potential to continuing on pushing up. Now the volumes are insane. It's one of the highest it's ever been, but volumes are cooling down, which means that any kind of wrong movement in terms of selling or even short selling can bring this one down significantly. So keep an eye onto this one. Again, this is perhaps could be pump and dump. I haven't really done a full-on investigation onto who have pumped this or what has pumped this, but really when you're looking at it in terms of the news, it's mainly relating towards the 13G that it got back on back. But keep in mind, institutions don't always do the right decision, and a lot of people have exaggerated that 13G investment, and you need to be very careful of a next following red day, which can be very possible just recently back in the history. So keep that in mind. What do you think about the sticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and have a wonderful day. Now, if you're still here on this video, make sure to drop down below and join our Discord. We have a lot of different things going on, including, for instance, members that gives picks for free. It's not pump and dumps, we just things we think about, swings, etc. We also have really exciting bots. You can actually use those ones. For instance, we're just testing out this bot, for instance, that gives you Fibonacci resistance points, activities, etc. And we have a bunch of free things, totally free. We run on tips here, and you can ask me questions, suggest stocks, etc. It's a really nice community that has been growing up very fast at a very good rate, and it's totally free. If you would like to join that one, feel free to do so in the description below, and have a wonderful day.